Tim, I don't want to be like the person to say on this podcast, okay, now we have to go to the ugly, but I want to get the ugly out of the way. I want to get the bad out of the way before we go on to the good. I know you're on such a good high there. I want to just take it down just a notch so we can end
worries.
on a good note near the end of the episode. Today's match, obviously, the 1-1 disappointing result, but I also want to kind of take you back also to the Fiorentina match before, obviously, the joy of advancing in the Champions League. 2 matches in the Serie A that didn't go Milan's way, unfortunately. You know, the one before the Champions League, you know, some fans, some people were saying, oh, they're looking for Tottenham. They're looking ahead to Tottenham. This game, they didn't really take too seriously. I want to get your thoughts on both games. If you want to start with the Fiorentina one, you can. The 2-0 in that game, disappointing. The 1-1 today, disappointing. Just your overall thoughts, and I guess I'll chime in afterwards just to maybe pick up whatever you don't put down.
For sure. So this is something that you have to look back at. You look back at the transfer season, all right? You look back at summer transfer market. You look back at January transfer market, right? A team that was plagued with injuries over the last 2 years, a team that has no depth, right? So when I look at this Fiorentina, now Milan have all these games to play, okay? And I look at this Fiorentina team, and you're like, okay, we're not having the best game now, but what do we do? And you know what? Yeah, maybe Pioli's tactics or whatever he's doing isn't working right now. I don't really put 100% of the blame on that guy because he's only working with what they're giving him at the end of the day, right? You bring in a top end coach, okay? Let's say let's say Jurgen Klopp came to Milan or Ancelotti and he's working with those same players. Is it going to be much of an improvement? It might be a little bit. It's not going to be much. So when you look at the games like Fiorentina, when things don't go right, you know, a stupid penalty was a game where it was Tomori that gave away that penalty. It was against Fiorentina, right? A stupid penalty. You look at him and he's like, he knew he did it. Like it was just from there it was just done, right? And that's like, it's just there's no one to play with. There's nobody there to bring on when you need someone, right? Again, we saw it. If we can move to the Salernitana game, I saw it today. Perfect example. We can't find the back of the net. We tried everything. What does Pioli do? He brings on guys that are going to find him goals. And these are the guys he has to rely on, okay? Origi, who's terrible, okay? CDK, I'm sorry. Yes, I want to give you time because you're owned by Milan, but we need someone to start in front of him because and even Diaz, if that's your competition, man, the competition's pretty low, right? He did great against Tottenham, but you can see it's just doesn't work. So you bring on guys like that. You bring on Florenzi. Like Florenzi, is your attacking right back to come on to try to get you a goal. Which, in my opinion, he looked like he was bringing the ball up a little bit better than Messias and Salamakers. Like, he's way more attack-minded, and he's also a lot more relaxed with the ball. He takes that extra, step before he makes the pass. It's just that we don't have the depth on games like this, and then you just see them struggling. A big thing too is layout, man. Where the hell did he go? He disappeared. The guy went from like 150 million value player to like now sitting at like 70 if he's lucky. He wants to request 7.5 million from Milan. He's looking like a player right now since coming back from the World Cup. He looks like a player that's valued at exactly what they wanted to give him, 4 million. Right? Like if this is your thing is that you don't want to sign the contract, right? Because you want to go to a different club. But now the new thing is that, okay, I'll sign the contract for an extension to 2026, but highest bidder this summer transfer, you got to sell me to him. Well, dude, you got to bring us something to sell you at, because if we're going to sell you for 60K or 60 mil, right, when you were valued at, people were willing to give you 100. Chelsea were willing to do some negotiations. Chelsea wanted to buy him. They could buy anybody. Look what they did, right? Mm-hmm. So Leao not playing good. You're bringing on Ibra. I'm sorry, guys. I love Ibra. He's a great cheerleader. I love him. Great cheerleader, but he's so done. He doesn't move. He does not move. Like, it's just he having him. You're looking for that last minute, effort, aerial threat, throw it in there. Hopefully, he gets a head on it, kind of thing, or gets a foot on it. But he brings nothing right now on the pitch. Like, I'm just not seeing it anymore, and it's frustrating because you look at it and you're like, okay, people are putting blame on Pioli. Everybody wants to blame Pioli. I don't know if me and you kind of stand in eye and eye right now. Like, maybe you're a Pioli, you're blaming Pioli a little bit too. I want to blame the guy, sure, but what does he have? Give the guy something to do. Give him an opportunity. Be like, you know what, Pioli? We're gonna give you 1 year. Cool. What players do you want? You want a right winger? Because that's what we desperately need. Sure. Here's a good one. You want another center mid? You know, because in the center mid, Tonali has been shaky this season. Benasser, he's great. He runs. He does it, but he still doesn't have that it factor yet. And then you got Krunic, who I think Krunic is great. I call him Lord Krunic because he does what he's supposed to. He does his job. That's what he does. He doesn't give you more. He doesn't give you less. He does his job. But the problem right now is what we're seeing is we don't have those guys that are out there to play. If I had to ask you last year, who's a better player? I'm not even going to say his name, but I'm going to say Cavara, okay, or Leao. We're all going to turn around and say Leao, no doubt. But what are you talking about? But yeah, you got this guy that's hungry, kid coming in, nobody knew about him, and he's lighting up the league. Right? And Leao's there dancing and making music on YouTube. Like, show if you think you're worth what you're worth to go to these big name clubs, show it. Because when you score that finesse shot that you always do every single game against in the World Cup, everybody thought that's it, he's continuing form. Comes back, guy can't get a shot on target. He can't make it run. Maybe the teams have figured him out because his favorite thing to do is go from the outside in and press that X pass or that shoot button, right? Right, but that's his move set. Maybe they figured him out. They're like, okay, let's not block him in let's block him on the outside and not let him come in and try to take a shot, because what's the chances he's going to hit the back of the net? That's what it's been looking like. And I think there's a lot of things affecting it, but I think it's coming down from the top people, like the directors and stuff, the players. We're not getting anything. Now, again, this is not FIFA. We don't just go sell a guy, make the money, buy another guy. I get that, right? Yeah. I get that. But you got to give us something. Like, look, okay, we made it to the next round of the Champions League. There's 20 mil. You know what they're going to do with that 20 mil? They're going to go sign a Diaz. And I'm sorry, love Maldini. Of course, he's my capitano because I didn't really grow up watching Baresi. If he wastes 20 million on Diaz, then he's a problem himself. Right? This is where we're at right now. We just don't have it. We beat Tottenham, cool, and I think we actually deserve to win both games because we had way more chances than them. We were the better team in both legs, 100%. I'm not saying that. But now what happens if we get to teams like Benfica? Benfica, in my opinion, I think Benfica have a better squad overall of talent. Even their depth chart is better than us. We might defensively be better, but who knows, right? Like it's hard to say. There's just something I think that this Milan team is lacking, and they thought they can do the same thing they did last year with it, and it's not happening because you got a team that's actually dominating. And last year we didn't have a team that was dominating. Inter wasn't dominating. We weren't dominating. Juve wasn't dominating. There was no teams dominating last year. There was no team on a streak at all. Like, we were the closest to the streak. We had that unbeaten run in the beginning, right? Like, and we ended up winning it. And at the end, and we won it because of that. But besides us, no other team really looked that well. Inter blew it realistically. To me, it was a miracle, guys. Let's call a spade. We're lucky we won that. A little bit of luck, a great save by Tatarusanu against the penalty against Inter. Go figure. Like, there's all these little contributing factors, but it's a different game this year with the whole, and we all knew this was coming because Elliott sold the club. These guys don't even know what they're buying yet. Today, a thing came up with Cardinali. The guy walked into the dressing room and goes, "Oh, I didn't know we were second behind Real Madrid in Champions League wins or Champions League trophies." Bro, the guy didn't even know what he was buying. He was just seeing guys of money. Okay, let's invest, right? So, I mean, but now it's time. Like, and the thing is, what scares me about the season is that if we don't finish top 4, what happens to the whole thing? What happens to it? It's thrown out the window, man.
Goes to shit.
It goes to shit. If we can finish top four, then we might still have a project in continuing. Right? It's something continuing. But if we don't, then where does the project come to? I can tell you 100% what's going to happen. Leao ain't re-signing nothing because he wants that Champions League soccer. Okay, there's a lot of those players that are going to want that Champions League soccer. And the only way to get better players coming to our team is what? Champions League soccer. Right? So that's our goal, and that's how we build from it. But if nothing gets done, and listen, that's who I'm going to blame. It's the directors. And again, it's whether they have money or they don't have money, this and that. It's just something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to make our team better. It's impossible. We've gone on 4 transfer markets and not bought in the right wing, or three transfer markets and not gotten a right wing. How is this possible, guys? How is this possible? Right? So it's like,
Tim, I share the frustrations.
Yeah.
It's those frustrations are certain. The right wing thing, I mean, and guys, don't get me wrong. Renewing Messias, that's not the solution. I'm sorry. Again, love the story, love the moments that he brings every now and a blue moon, but it's not the guy we need. Listen, you brought up the Pioli talk. For me, I think it's obviously a bit on him, a bit not. Obviously, I'm on that fence because I'm not going to say. Listen, Pioli did what he did last season with what he had. It worked to the extent that we needed it to work. We got the Scudetto. We got what we needed to achieve. Got into top 4. Like, I don't know. This team is really about like those like next like check marks, like those next milestones. It's like
yep.
Sometimes you kind of have to go past like, our goal is to get into top 4. Our goal is to get into the next round of the Champions League. But we also need a right wing. We also need depth. We also need, other things. But again, I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to be the guy or that fan to blame all the exterior factors. Again, games like today, these are winnable games, Tim. We both know that. These are not games where we should be dropping points. Your Scudetto reigning champions, and even if you're not Scudetto winning champions, you're Milan. Milan in these types of matches need to pick up maximum points
against the relegation team.
A bit of a different story.
Yeah, against a relegation team, it's crazy.
So
I think Salernitana, aren't they better? Aren't they like a bit of a mid-table team this year? I have to look at the standings.
16th place.
I
don't know after
they're worse than I thought.
Yeah,
they're worse than I thought.
No, 16th place. You're right, Tim.
Yeah.
You're right. 16th spot. It's just not points that you should be dropping against Fiorentina. Again, I correct myself. I said 2-0. It was 2-1. I forgot the power shot there by Theo at the end. But again, it's multiple factors. You're going to say depth. Even just continuously putting the same lineup, not giving guys a chance. Some of the guys in our neck of the woods here in Montreal screaming for Adley to get some minutes.
Yeah.
Like, did you see what he did in that short period of time? More than some other guys have done. But again,
he had the best preseason.
Yeah.
If there was one player that stood out during the whole preseason, one player you can pick up off the top of your head and you go, who had the best preseason? It'd be Adley, but yet he's nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. We bring on a guy like Bakayoko that's not even ours. Again, we can go on and on about all these such of things. I don't know. We weren't in it mentally. I don't think against Fiorentina it showed. And for me, we weren't in it mentally. We took our foot off the gas today. That first 15 minutes of the second half, I would say, just around. That's the only reason why I think Salernitana scored the goal that they scored. There's no possible way you can have Dia wide open in the box. Magna's only going to make as many miraculous saves as he can. Like, he's not going to save them all. So great slide tackle today. Yeah, he looked like vintage Maldini. But moments like this, Tim, it's frustrating because on a week. And again, it's not to say, you have to kind of schedule watch and see what other people are doing. But the top 4 race, 2 to 4 this year is a dogfight. We're calling a spade a spade. It's tight, right? So
and everything worked out in our favor.
Exactly.
Everything. And if we got the 3 points.
Exactly. And what happens? Typical Milan. They go and blow it against a bottom of the table team. I don't know. It's frustrating for sure. You bring up the Leao point too. Before we continue on. here.
I do have I don't know
sorry,
if you
go
had
ahead.
what you were gonna ask, but
No,
I did
I
have
just
a
want
question.
I just wanted to say about the Leao thing. Tim brought it up. It's no surprise that he's not the same player as he was last year. Reigning Serie A MVP. He's nowhere near that caliber. He started off the season well, had a good World Cup. Coming into 2023, hasn't really been his start to the year that he would have obviously wanted. I think a lot is like mental in my eyes.
Yep.
You can see it. The smile is always going to be there, but you can see that there's still certain things that are obviously in the back of the mind. The contract, him not scoring, him not being the number one guy. But at the same time, when he's not on the pitch, when we don't have him at our disposal, we're a different team, especially on that left-hand side.
100%.
Just him and Theo on that left-hand side, it's a different Milan when they're both on the pitch, when they're both when they're both available. When they're not available, we saw it when he wasn't available for Fiorentina, and I'm not saying that's why we lost because Leao wasn't on the pitch. That's absolutely not the case. But Rebic and Theo, not that same synergy, not that same
100%.
chemistry.
I agree.
So, is Leao important? Absolutely. Are we Leao dependent? I don't want to say 100% that. Is he a big part of what we do offensively? Yeah. When
I think we
he's
are
on, for sure.
I think we are a bit Leao dependent.
I don't want to say 100% because
99.
99. We'll go 99. We'll go 99.
No, but 90%, man. Like it's crazy. Like sorry, like but without him, we don't have no nothing. We can't do nothing. So that's like my love-hate relationship with the guy is that we know he's talented. We know he can make things happen. Well, why isn't he doing it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. So I don't know. It's a different Milan when he's on, and it's a different Milan when he's off. I think the stats also prove it. I don't have them in front of me, but I had seen somewhere that, just the amount of goals that are scored, the amount of chances that are created. Yes, you can see it, guys. It's not rocket science that we're pulling out here. So, for sure, frustrating, especially like you said, Tim, how the week panned out. Every direct opponent dropping points of some sort of fashion. We weren't able to capitalize, and now we stick in that same pack of, 50, 49, 48, 47 points. I think that's how from 2 to 5. I think that's how it goes. So, yeah. I know, Nick, you said you had a question concerning Leao or concerning something else?
Yeah, I think it was a tweet from Bonetti today. Asked if you had to start a team for the next 10 years, Leao or Kvara. Who would you guys go with?
Leao.
Nick, what do you go with?
I would say, I'm just looking up their ages right now. So maybe, Adriano, you could say it first.
I think, well, Kvara is 22. He just turned 22.
They're the same.
Leao is 22 as well, 23.
Yeah.
22?
22.
Yeah, Leao's 23. He's going to be 24 in June. Kvara just turned 22.
22.
So, 2-year difference. Honestly, I'd go Kvara. Maybe it is recency bias. Maybe it's the 2-year being younger.
You know what the problem with that is for me personally, and why I wouldn't pick Kvara? He's gonna be another one-hit wonder season. Trust me, man.
Probably
because the minute it's so much hype, he's not gonna be at Napoli next year. He's gonna go to another team. He's gonna get destroyed. It's what's gonna happen. The problem, see, the difference, and this could be a thing of the country that he plays for, is that we'll see Leao play for Portuguese national team. We won't see Kvara anywhere. Where's he going to play? Georgia? Like, when are we going to see him play? In a Euro? Maybe. Very
like another Haaland Norway situation.
Right, but the difference is that Haaland is a monster, and he played already.
Not comparing. Not comparing. Just in terms of nationality.
Right. So I think in the long run, like when you're seeing a guy constantly getting called up versus a guy that's going to get called up but never watched, it alters your career completely. Honestly. Right. You can if here's an example. Name me a player that stands out to you in the last 10 years that's played from not like a top 10 country.
Aubameyang.
Ibrahimovic. Probably the only one. Ibrahimovic.
You have to think. You have to think. It's a select. It's a select list.
There's a lot more than just that.
There is, but I
There
mean,
is.
if you turn around and say now, name me 10 players that stand out from the top 10, national teams, I'm gonna name you 30 in the same amount of time that's gonna take to name 15, right? Like there's those one-offs, but Sweden still consecutively goes to the World Cup. Are we ever gonna see Georgia in a World Cup? Probably not. Very, very rarely. Maybe when they add the 60 team or whatever they're doing now, but that's the only way I could see that happening.
I mean, Germany is ranked 14th right now, so you could definitely name some top players from them. Uruguay, Cavani, Suarez. We could go on. We could go on, Tim.
That's what I mean. But like, those are like, they stand out, right? And I think that goes for a player's career. Really depends on how well they do in their club, but also how well they do for their national team, right? Even if you go with Ballon d'Or winners, right? Like if you look at Ballon d'Or winners. Who's the last person I can think of that was like Nedved, if we want to go with Juve, right? Nedved's probably the last player that didn't really do much for his country, but like killed it in the league, right? So those are other things that like you have to consider, is that like what it does to a player's career not being able to play those months where everybody else is getting eyes, and depending on where he goes,
should have been a Ballon d'Or winner. He didn't do much for Poland. Let's put it
not at all, right? That's probably
for Bayern.
And that's probably why he didn't win it. Unfortunately, FIFA
I think
right?
They canceled because they canceled it that year, 2021.
Well, FIFA's poster boy wasn't around that year, right?
Yeah, so. But I don't know. I have to disagree with that, because I think also with the amount of games that players are playing now, the league is adding 2 more games to the Supercopa. With the amount of games that players are playing, having a bit of a break. Well, look, Kvara still goes to play for Georgia. He goes to play in UEFA Nations League, League C, whatever it is. I think they just got promoted from whatever league they were in.
Probably because
he's still going to play with them. He's still getting the minutes for Georgia. Maybe he's not playing Euros. Maybe he's not playing a World Cup. Maybe that's a good thing, though, because then less risk of injury for his club. He's getting that full break over the summer.
It's the eyes.
It's the eyes. And you can still get eyes playing Champions League with Napoli. So
yeah, well, it's gonna happen. I can almost guarantee he doesn't stay another season.
No,
he'll be gone by this summer.
I do, like, if he is a bust, I wouldn't say I won't be surprised. I mean, we'll see next year. But I also feel like whenever a new player comes into the league and then they're hot, they're hot all year.
Yep.
It's because momentum is a real thing, right? In sports, he's good right now, and then also next season, teams are going to have a full year of studying film and preparing for him and knowing him. Look what he did this weekend against Atalanta, where he just danced through 7 guys.
That was crazy.
You think teams are going to allow that to happen next year? You think Atalanta is going to go back to the Maradona next year and is going to allow that to happen? No, they're going to have guys chomping at his ankles, making sure they don't do that. They don't embarrass him again.
It could be a Milan bias on my part, right?